Hello everyone and welcome to what I think is week 5 of the Let's Ask ASQA series. I do apologise for the slight delay in getting this week's question out. I've been interstate on site with a client most of this week and I've had several comments and questions. When's the next one coming? When's the next one coming? So here it is. I promise you it's going to be a bit of a strange one because one would think that the answer to this question is pretty obvious. However, in my experience, it is far from the case, and I'm even going to provide you with some case law where in AAT matters, for example, we've had tribunal members make statements, making assumptions about the very question I'm about to ask you. Now, what a lot of people may not realise is that there is what is called the Standards for VET Regulators 2015. Now, that is a legislative instrument just exactly the same as the Standards for RTOs 2015, but this one is about how the Commonwealth regulator, the National VET Regulator, ASQA, the Australian Skills Quality Authority, should conduct itself in the process of conducting its regulatory activities. One of those things, of course, is the qualifications and experience of auditors and ASQA assessors. This can be found in Schedule 1 of the Standards for VET Regulators, and it includes the usual type of stuff that you would expect from an auditor, including things like the BSB or Business Services Auditing Units. But interestingly, what it also allows for, and as far as I'm aware, it has always allowed for, is for a subject matter expert to make part of the audit team. Now, as you know, it's not uncommon for there to be an audit team as part of an ASQA audit. What that means is you will have a lead auditor, but you will also have someone who assists in terms of evidence collection, or you might have an observer. You may have someone from a state funding body who also joins in. But very rarely have I seen a subject matter expert in an audit team in an ASQA audit. So what I'd like to read out for you actually is the reference in Schedule 1 of the Standards for VET Regulators 2015. It says, an audit team may comprise a lead auditor and one or more auditors and include technical advisors where required who provide specific knowledge or expertise to the audit team. Technical advisors must operate under the direction of an auditor. Any technical advisor involved in an audit is not required to comply with the minimum competency requirements specified for auditors above. So we can see that there is a very clear capacity for the National VET Regulator to have subject matter experts in attendance, or at least contributing to some of the compliance assessments, or what do we call them these days? Performance monitoring audits, even though within the audit report themselves, it actually calls it an audit. So you can see that the Standards for VET Regulators does actually specify that they can use this in the conduct of its audits. Now, what we also saw in a case in the AAT in particular in 2019, in fact, it was Pacific Flight Services, Pty Ltd, and Australian Skills Quality Authority. If anyone's looking for the reference for that case, I will put it in the comments section or maybe in the post. I'll see where it fits. But specifically in paragraph 48 of that case, it talks about how I'm actually going to read the paragraph because it makes a little bit more sense that way. Paragraph 48 begins, the tribunal also notes that the report of Phoenix Compliance Management at paragraph A14 alludes to the fact that the audit was not undertaken by a named person who it is implied normally undertakes such audits and is highly experienced in flying school assessment because of the complexity of the processes for delivery and assessment. This may very well be the case in terms of the named individual, but ASQA was at pains to point out that the assessor who undertook the audit was equally as qualified, and the tribunal rejects any suggestion, implicit or otherwise, on the part of the applicant via this report to call into question the professional competency auditor the ASQA assessors involved. Now, what many people do know is that not too long ago, it was not uncommon to see that an ASQA auditor didn't even have the competency requirements in terms of the audit qualifications and units of competency. We would often see that they came from various human services or business services backgrounds. Sometimes they may have had some building and construction type backgrounds, but it's never really been anything, in my experience, to do with CASA licenses or Civil Aviation Safety Authority licenses. I don't know that I've even seen a nurse, for example, or somebody along those lines who is actually auditing the courses that require those specialist skills and subject matter experts. Now, what I can tell you is that the number of times that I've had audit reports come across my desk, and in very, very, very specific and specialist fields of vocational education and training, such as, for example, the mining industry, talking in relation to explosives and shot firing, those sorts of things, talking about things like welding, or talking about, for example, heavy vehicle truck driving road trains. I've never seen an auditor from ASQA who is a subject matter expert in those areas conducting the audits. But equally, I've never seen an audit team comply with that capacity to include a subject matter expert. So, for example, there are national heavy vehicle accredited licenses and accreditation people. There are also, for example, high risk work assessors who are approved by WorkSafe, but I don't often see those sorts of people coming across my desk in the audit report as part of the audit team. So I guess my question for ASQA this week is one that really, really interests me personally, but I know for the many clients that I've represented over the years, they've asked the question, why is it that ASQA does not use auditors who are subject matter experts in the audits that they're conducting? Excuse me. So we've had, for example, people from fashion design, people from hairdressing. We've had people from children's services and early childhood educators who are conducting audits against people in some of the areas that I've just spoken about. We've also had people from fashion design and hairdressing, makeup as well, specialist makeup, who are also conducting internal reviews. Now, one thing I do know lately is that we do seem to have more and more people with legal qualifications conducting internal reviews. And that's really important for you to know, because if you're applying for an internal review or internal reconsideration with ASQA, surely you would want to know that the person that you're submitting evidence to is actually a qualified lawyer, or someone who is coming from an early childhood background or hairdressing, someone who has got no idea about the industry that you operate in. So again, the question for this week is, ASQA, you have the capacity to use subject matter experts in your audit team. Please explain why you don't choose to use that option, particularly in an environment where it is user pays now. You are all conducting audits on a full cost recovery basis, and therefore it's reasonable for providers to expect that the person who is going to make an assessment decision about their compliance with the training package and the standards for RTOs does at least have the background and experience required to make that assessment judgment. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you found this question this week really interesting. It's an area that I am really passionate about, and I can't wait for ASQA to answer that question for us. I look forward to seeing your comments and your future questions for the Let's Ask ASQA series. Bye for now, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.